I suspected my wife was having an affair with her boss, so I tailed him to a hotel. But what I saw next left me thunderstruck. The woman who opened the door for him was my mother, my own mother. Some time ago, I'd accidentally spotted a pair of men's dress shoes in by Juan's online shopping cart. I was thrilled at the time, since my birthday was just around the corner. It had to be by Juan's gift for me. But when my birthday arrived, I did see those shoes. Except they were on the feet of Bai Wan's boss. When I got home, Bai Wan and Wang Ji instantly clammed up, their faces grim. The occasional, knowing glances they exchanged made my stomach churn. Bai Wan forced a laugh. Honey, weren't you working late? What are you doing home so early? Manager Wang was just passing by and gave me a ride. Wang Ji, a smirk playing on his lips, said, Don't get the wrong idea. Bai Wan had a bit of fever today. I saw she wasn't feeling well, so I brought her home. My jaw twitched. I stared coldly at them. Bai Wan has a fever, so what are you doing in pajamas, Wang Ji? And are those my pajamas? Bai Wan stammered, looking uneasy. Honey, don't misunderstand. Wang Ji He spilled some water on his clothes when he was getting me a drink. Wang Ji got up, went into my bedroom to change, and emerged looking completely at ease, like he owned the place. He grinned slyly. Well, I won't disturb you two then. Oh, by the way, Bai Wan washed my underwear too, but it's not dry yet. Don't worry, I'll pick it up tomorrow. Fuck. I spun around, stormed into the kitchen, grabbed a cleaver, and charged after him. Wang Ji, terrified, turned and bolted. Bai Wan threw herself at me, hysterical, crying, Are you crazy? Honey, can't you just trust me this once? I love you so much. Don't I even deserve that much faith from you? Looking at Bai Wan, her face streaked with tears, a picture of sorrow, I sighed. On my own birthday, my wife had dealt me the ultimate humiliation a man could endure. That night, after a shower, Bai Wan lay on the bed and held me. I said coldly, Don't touch me with hands that have washed another man's underwear. Bai Wan froze instantly, her eyes flashing with hurt and humiliation. Her voice trembled as she said, Can't you trust me, just this once? We've been together for so many years. What gives you the right to doubt my love for you? I turned to look into Bai Wan's eyes and said, I don't doubt your love for me, but I'm not blind. If I hadn't come home early today, who knows what might have happened? Suddenly, Bai Wan shoved me away, tears streaming down her face as she screamed hysterically. You're disgusting. Don't you ever dare touch me again. I grabbed my pillow and went straight to the living room. Closing my eyes, I began to plan the divorce. The house was our joint property, mine and Bai Wan's. The car was her dowry. We had $700,000 in savings, and she held the bank card. If we divorced, I wouldn't give her a single cent. Moreover, I'd make sure she and Wang Ji were utterly ruined, their reputations destroyed. Early the next morning, my mom called. She'd probably heard my wife and I were fighting, and she really laid into me. Son, she started, Wan is such a good girl. Don't you go misjudging her. Every couple argues. That's just part of life. Your father and I have been through thick and thin for so many years, and we're still doing great, aren't we? I sighed. Mom, you don't understand. Bai Wan, My mom cut me off. Bai Wan is so beautiful, of course. There will be guys trying to hit on her, but you have to trust Bai Wan. She's not that kind of person. Back in the day, I turned a lot of heads myself, and your father trusted me completely. If you dare divorce Bai Wan, then you're no son of mine, and I'll donate my entire inheritance to an orphanage. After listening to my mom ramble on for half an hour, I hung up. I sighed again. My parents had worked their fingers to the bone their whole lives and amassed a fortune of tens of millions. But that money wasn't going to make me give up on divorcing Bai Wan. She could forget it. Just then, Bai Wan walked out of her room, a smug smile playing on her lips. I just snorted coldly, grabbed my things, and left for work. Bai Wan knew I was a devoted son who hung on my mother's every word, so she thought she could have me under her thumb. But this was a matter of principle. This time, I wouldn't back down. On the surface, Bai Wan and I were back to normal, but secretly, I began to investigate. I used a Trojan to hack Bai Wan's chat logs and discovered she and Wang Ji were already calling each other husband and wife. Bai Wan was using the money I earned to buy Wang Ji clothes and shoes. She practically wanted to give him everything we owned. It made me grind my teeth in fury. Yet from their conversations, it seemed they hadn't slept together. Wang Ji had once pleaded, Babe, just give yourself to me. We're so in love. What are you still hesitating for? Bai Wan had replied, No, not yet. I can't do that to my husband. I was baffled. If they were so in love, why was she still letting me get in the way? Since I hit a dead end with Bai Wan, I started investigating Wang Ji. One day, I tailed Wang Ji to a hotel. Wearing a mask and sunglasses, I entered the lobby and watched Wang Ji walking ahead of me, a sleazy grin on his face. I followed, but when I reached the hotel room door, a scene unfolded that left me utterly dumbfounded. Wang Ji knocked, and the woman who opened it wasn't Bai Wan. It was my mom, my own mother. In that instant, my mind reeled, every cell in my body screaming. My mom took Wang Ji's hand, led him into the room, and then closed the door. What the hell was going on? Were my mother and my wife both cheating with the same man? That evening, Dad called us home for dinner. The moment Bai Wan and I stepped inside, we saw Wang Ji in the room. Bai Wan froze, clearly not expecting Wang Ji to be at her house. Her gaze flickered away, unsure of what was happening. Mom came out of the kitchen, smiling, and said, "Son, daughter-in-law, let me introduce you. This young man is Wang Ji, my old classmate's son. You're all around the same age, so I thought it'd be good for you to meet." Wang Ji smirked. "What a coincidence. Bai Wan is my colleague, and I know Wei Kai too." Mom frowned, a hint of suspicion in her eyes. "Oh, you know each other? Well, that was unnecessary of me. Come, let's eat first." After we all sat down, Dad raised his glass and said a bit naively, "Wang Ji, son of an old friend, welcome to our home. Treat this place as your own from now on, and feel free to visit anytime." Wang Ji gave a dark, knowing smile. "Don't you worry, Uncle. I'll be sure to disturb you often. Right, Auntie?" Mom, uncharacteristically, blushed and nodded slightly. Bai Wan kept her head down the entire time, seemingly afraid to meet Wang Ji's eyes. Mom started nagging me again. "Look at you, a grown man, and you can't even make conversation. Then look at Wang Ji, so young and accomplished. You should learn a thing or two from him." I scoffed internally. What was I supposed to learn from him? How to prey on women of all ages. How to two-time. The next second, I froze. My eyes darted under the table. And there, right in front of Dad and me, Wang Ji was under the table, one hand gripping Mom, the other gripping Bai Wan. I suppressed the fury boiling inside me. "You humiliate me. You deceive me. Then don't blame me for being ruthless." When Bai Wan and I got home, she suddenly said, a hint of suspicion in her voice, "Honey, have you noticed? There's something a bit strange about Wang Ji and Mom's relationship." I raised an eyebrow and asked quietly, "Strange how?" Bai Wan said thoughtfully, "It just feels off. Are they really that close?" She was muttering to herself now. I watched her expression. I had to suppress a smile. "Just wait until the day you actually see them together," I thought. "That's going to be quite a show." I could never wrap my head around why Mom thought so highly of Wang Ji while constantly putting me down. But then, while I was looking into things, Mom did a complete 180. Out of nowhere, she started pushing me to divorce Bai Wan. "I'm fine with you two divorcing now," she declared. "Life goes on, no matter who you're with, right? Besides, that Bai Wan woman, I never thought she was trustworthy. Then, divorce her. Do it now. She cheated on my son. There's no way you two can make it work." To this, I just gave a vague, non-committal reply. Mom even sent me intimate photos of them. Bai Wan was lying on a bed, eyes closed, though who took the picture was anyone's guess. Mom scoffed. "Just look at this Bai Wan, what a tramp. I thought she was a decent girl. But it turns out she's nothing but a slut." I mumbled a few non-committal words and hung up. But I couldn't go through with the divorce, not yet, because I'd stumbled upon a secret. In one of Mom's hidden boxes, I found a yellowed envelope. Frowning, I opened it. A fragile sheet of paper, the ink faded and splotchy, met my eyes. What was written on it struck me like a bolt from the blue. The letter clearly read, "Today 10,000 yuan was paid for the purchase of this son. From this day forward, he shall have no further connection to his birth family. This document serves as proof. Seller's name, illegible. Date of transaction, partially obscured." As I read it, my hands began to shake uncontrollably. My heart felt like an invisible fist had clenched around it, squeezing the air from my lungs. I couldn't fathom it. I was a child who'd been bought. This home, the place I'd always consider my safe haven, was built on such a staggering secret. I sank to the floor, dazed, my eyes fixed blankly on that piece of paper, my mind a whirlwind. A torrent of questions crashed through me. Who were my real parents? Why would they sell me? And how on earth did I end up here? Now that I knew they weren't my real parents, I had to figure out my next move. I tailed Wang Ji a few more times, getting plenty of videos and photos of him with my mom. So, armed with this evidence, I went straight to my dad. Looking at this man, who'd been kept in the dark all this time, a mix of emotions churned inside me. As a fellow man who'd been wronged, I felt I had to tell him the truth. I took a deep breath, handed him my phone with the video, and stood by quietly, watching his reaction. My dad took the phone, his expression puzzled at first. But as the video played, his face slowly drained of color, his eyes filled with shock and fury. His hands began to tremble, his lips quivered, and he froze as if rooted to the spot. When the video ended, he snapped his head up, eyes bloodshot, veins bulging on his forehead, and roared, "This is outrageous." Seeing him so agitated, I felt a pang of pity, but I sighed and said, "Mom and Wang Ji, their relationship isn't what it seems. I've been following them for a long time. This is all proof. And besides, I've uncovered an even bigger secret about who I really am. Were you planning on keeping that from me, too?" My dad's eyes widened as he stared at me, as if waiting for what I'd say next. I said slowly, "I found a letter at home. It said Mom bought me for 10,000 yuan, that I have no connection to my original family, and that I'm not your biological son." Hearing this, my dad froze for a moment. Then, a complex mix of emotions washed over his face: surprise, helplessness, and a hint of regret. He sat there, stunned, silent for a long time before finally speaking, his voice heavy. "Son, the truth is, I'm also to blame for all of this." His voice was low and hoarse, laced with deep exhaustion and despair. "When your mom was young, she had a first love. They were deeply in love. But I was so obsessed with your mom back then that I interfered and broke them up. Even though she married me, she never forgot him. Later, we had a daughter, but your mom always wanted a son. So, we gave our daughter away and bought you. All these years, we've been searching for her, consumed by guilt. We never imagined. Fate plays cruel tricks. We found her, and we arranged for her to marry you. She's by want." At this, tears of regret streamed down my dad's face. He lowered his head, covering his face with his hands, his voice choked with sobs. "I thought time would heal everything. I thought our family could be happy forever. But I was wrong. I failed Wan, and I've failed you even more." Hearing my dad's confession, I was completely floored. I never imagined my life could be this twisted. I couldn't wait to ask, "Dad, where are my birth parents? I want to know who they are, where I really come from." A flicker of guilt and helplessness crossed my father's eyes. He slowly shook his head and said in a low voice, "Son, I don't know either. It's been over 20 years, far too long. The leads from back then went cold long ago. There's no way to contact them anymore." Hearing his answer, my heart sank. All these years, I believed I had a complete family. Even after discovering the cruel truth that I'd been bought, my longing to find my birth parents hadn't diminished in the slightest. Now, that faint hope seemed about to be extinguished. A brief silence fell over the room, filled only with the sound of our heavy breathing. Suddenly, Father seemed to have a realization. His eyes sharpened, his face contorting with anger. "I heard your mother. She wants you two to divorce," he bit out. And it suddenly struck me, this could be a conspiracy. He gritted his teeth, speaking slowly, deliberately. "Baiwan is our biological daughter. Wang Ji looks so much like your mother's ex-boyfriend. He must be your ex's son. Your mother definitely wants Wang Ji and Baiwan to get together, so our family fortune ends up with them." The more Father spoke, the more agitated he became. He shot up from his seat and paced the room, hands flailing. "How could she do this? All these years, I've given her my all, worked myself to the bone for this family, and she's been scheming all this behind my back." His voice trembled with rage. "For that first love of hers, she's willing to sacrifice our family, sacrifice you. It's outrageous." Watching my father's fury, a similar fire ignited within me. That day, the two of us spent the entire afternoon strategizing. About betrayal, about revenge. Two downtrodden men, we reached a consensus. My dad secretly transferred all his assets into my name. Then he gathered our friends and family, announcing he wanted to celebrate his 30th wedding anniversary with Mom. He insisted it had to be a surprise for her. All our relatives and friends smiled, remarking on how romantic Dad was. Meanwhile, I was keeping a close watch on Baiwan and Wang Ji's every move, checking their chat logs daily. "Baiwan, are you going to say yes or no? I love you so much, and you like me too. Wang Ji, I admit I have feelings for you. I really do like you, but not now. I can't betray my husband. Then I'll just send your bed photos to him. Let him see what kind of woman you really are. You're shameless. You got me drunk, and nothing even happened between us. Ha ha. Two naked people sharing a bed. What do you think people will assume? And I got the photos." Baiwan immediately turned off her phone. Lying on the bed, her body trembled slightly. I tilted my head. "What's wrong? Something on your mind?" She curled up in my arms, murmuring, "Honey, I love you. Please don't leave me, okay?" I stroked her hair. "As long as you haven't done anything to wrong me, I won't leave you. So have you?" Baiwan's body shuddered, panic flashing across her face. "And no, of course not. How could I?" I sighed. Baiwan had just missed her last chance to come clean with me. That day, Wang Ji and my mom had arranged to meet at home. I felt the time was ripe. I contacted my dad, and he immediately rallied all our relatives and friends to go to our house. 20 to 30 relatives and friends arrived at my dad's doorstep. Old Way is quite the romantic, isn't he? A 30th wedding anniversary. What a happy family. Exactly. The old couple has treated each other with such deep respect for so many years. I'm so envious. My dad, dressed in a sharp suit and tie, holding a bouquet of fresh flowers, smiled and greeted everyone. But his eyes held a chilling coldness, a hint of something sinister. Bai Wan and I stood among the crowd. I looked at Bai Wan, wondering what she would think if she saw what was about to unfold. The next second, my dad took out his keys and opened the door. The scene inside left everyone utterly stunned. An air of illicit intimacy and disarray filled the living room. The lighting was dim and hazy. Strewn across the floor were several items of disheveled clothing. My mom's familiar red silk nightgown and Wang Ji's shirt and tie. On the living room sofa, throw pillows were tossed haphazardly aside, and the backrest was askew, as if it had just witnessed a fierce struggle. On the dining table sat an unfinished Western meal and a half-empty bottle of red wine. Wine glasses still held dregs of liquid, glinting eerily in the dim light. And in a corner of the living room, my mom and Wang Ji stood, panic-stricken. My mom's hair was a mess, her makeup smudged. Her eyes were wide with terror and confusion, her lips trembling slightly, as if she wanted to say something but couldn't. Wang Ji, on the other hand, was pale-faced. A flicker of nervousness and fear showed in his eyes, and he instinctively took a step back. A strange odor filled the room, a mixture of perfume, alcohol, and an indescribable suggestive scent. The family photo hanging on the wall, once a portrait of happiness and harmony, now looked utterly ironic amidst the chaotic scene. The entire house seemed to have plunged into an absurd and heartbreaking state, a stark contrast to the warm and romantic anniversary celebration the relatives and friends outside had envisioned. Everyone froze on the spot. For a moment, it was so quiet you could only hear the heavy breathing of the crowd. Then, the crowd erupted. Gasps and murmurs rippled through them. Good heavens! What in the world is going on? Is Old Way's family falling apart? This is outrageous. Pulling such a scandal on their anniversary. How can Old Way show his face now? I knew something felt off today. I didn't expect such a massive piece of gossip. And I, standing in the crowd, watched by Wan. Her face instantly turned as white as a sheet, drained of all color. Her eyes were wide with shock and disbelief. Her lips trembled slightly, and after what felt like an eternity, she managed to choke out, "Wang Ji, how could you two do this?" Her voice quivered with despair, as if her very soul were being torn apart in that moment. Her body began to tremble uncontrollably, starting with a slight tremor that gradually intensified. My dad stood at the doorway, the flowers slipping from his hand to the floor. His body trembled slightly, the initial coldness and gloom in his eyes replaced by profound pain and disappointment. He stared at the two people in the room. His lips moved, but ultimately, no words came out. In that instant, time seemed to freeze. The entire world felt as if it had shattered. My mom, trembling slightly, asked awkwardly, "Old Way, why are you back? And why did you bring so many people?" I said coldly, "Everyone's here to celebrate your wedding anniversary." After saying that, I walked over to the TV, took a deep breath, and prepared to drop the final bombshell. My hand trembled slightly as I pressed the casting button. In that moment, it felt like the entire room had frozen. Everyone's eyes locked onto the screen. The first thing to appear was the explicit chat history between Bai Wan and Wang Ji, full of indecent nicknames and suggestive messages. Words like hubby and wifey flashed across the screen, stinging everyone's eyes with their shamelessness. The guests erupted in gasps and shocked murmurs, their expressions filled with disbelief and disgust. "Oh my God, what is this mess? Absolutely disgraceful. This is what society has come to? Is this even a family?" Their relationships are tangled like a ball of yarn. The mother-in-law acts nothing like one, the daughter-in-law's even worse. And what's so special about that man to make them all act like this? As for Bai Wan, the moment she saw the chat logs, her already pale face turned as white as a sheet. She swayed on her feet, nearly collapsing. Her eyes were locked onto the screen, lips trembling uncontrollably as tears streamed down her face again. "No, this isn't real. Please listen to me. Let me explain," she stammered, her voice breaking, tried to deny the undeniable. But the evidence was right there, clear and damning, rendering her excuses meaningless. Then, the bedroom photo appeared on screen. In the picture, Bai Wan lay on a bed with her eyes closed. Though the image was slightly blurry, anyone familiar with her could recognize her instantly. The room fell into a deathly silence before erupting into an uproar. Heavens, this is shameless beyond belief. What kind of behavior is this? One auntie covered her eyes, but still peeked through her fingers, her face a mix of shock and contempt. Her voice was so shrill it practically cut through the air. Dear Lord, is this some kind of twisted family drama? Absolutely mind-blowing. A young man shook his head, eyes wide in disbelief, darting between Bai Wan and the screen as if trying to process the scene before him. By now, Bai Wan had completely broken down. She buried her face in her hands and sobbed uncontrollably. It was Wang Ji. He drugged me, got me drunk. Please, you have to believe me. I stood to the side, watching it all unfold, emotions churning in my chest. There was a sense of release from finally exposing the truth, but also a deep sorrow for the wreckage of this family and the pain etched across Bai Wan's face. Still, I knew this was necessary. The truth had to come out. My father stood frozen at the doorway, staring at the images on the TV. His face was twisted with pain and disappointment. I hadn't told him anything about Bai Wan and Wang Ji beforehand. And now, in this moment, it was as if the strength drained from his body. His shoulders slumped, and his back hunched, as though all the weight of the world had landed on him. What kind of sin is this? He murmured to himself, his voice thick with sorrow. Then suddenly, his eyes reddened, and his whole body collapsed to the floor, unconscious. Panic broke out. People rushed in every direction, trying to help. My father was quickly carried off to the hospital in the chaos. The atmosphere in the hospital room was suffocating. My dad lay quietly on the hospital bed, his face deathly pale, tubes snaking from his body. The rhythmic beeping of the monitors sounded like a countdown on his life. The cerebral hemorrhage had left him drifting in and out of consciousness, rendering him fragile and helpless. My mom and Bai Wan were both in the room, tear tracks staining their faces as they sobbed quietly. Mom's eyes were vacant, her face etched with remorse and anguish. She sat by the bedside, her body trembling, hands desperately clutching Dad's, as if it were her only lifeline. After what felt like an eternity, Dad slowly regained consciousness. A flicker of confusion crossed his eyes, but when he saw Mom, it was instantly extinguished by an icy indifference. A flicker of hope sparked in Mom's eyes when she saw Dad awake. She rushed to his side, desperately pleading, "Wei, I was wrong. Please forgive me." Her voice, thick with tears and trembling, broke as fresh sobs escaped. Dad just let out a cold, weak laugh, tinged with despair. "We've been together for so many years," he rasped. "I'm dying. Just tell me the truth." Mom lowered her head, silent for a moment, as if summoning the courage to confront the mistake she'd made. Then, haltingly, she began to reveal the truth. "Years ago, after I broke up with my first love, I could never truly let him go. I thought time would wash it all away, but I never forgot him. Later, he passed away. Before he died, he entrusted me with the care of his son, Wang Ji. At first, I looked after Wang Ji out of sympathy and a sense of duty for my promise. But slowly, I found myself transferring my distorted affections onto him. Looking at Wang Ji, it was like I could see traces of my first love in him. I knew it was wrong, terribly wrong, but I couldn't stop myself." Mom continued, tears flowing ceaselessly, dripping onto the pristine white sheets. She glanced at Bai Wan, then pressed on, "Wan, you're our biological daughter. We gave you away all those years ago, and I've lived with the guilt ever since. Marrying you to Wei Kai, I thought it would somehow compensate for what we did, for that past regret. Lately, I've been thinking, perhaps it would be better if you were with Wang Ji. That way, I could maintain a connection with him, find some solace through him. I even thought about you divorcing Wei Kai, having him renounce his inheritance, so Wang Ji could marry you. And that intimate photo, I was the one who sent it to Wei Kai. I did it to crush any hope he had, to make him divorce you." Listening from the side, Bai Wan looked as though she'd been struck by lightning, utterly stunned and frozen in place. Her eyes widened, consumed by disbelief and anguish. She could never have imagined that she was their biological daughter. This sudden revelation had shattered her world, turning it completely upside down. "Mom, how could you?" Bai Wan finally burst out, her voice a choked cry, laced with bitter disappointment and fury. "What did you think we were? Pawns in your game?" Her body began to tremble, as if the cruel weight of this reality was too much to bear. Dad listened to Mom's confession in silence, his face an unreadable mask. Only the cold emptiness in his eyes betrayed the depths of his despair. He turned his head, unable to look at her any longer, as if even a single glance would deepen his agony. What's the use of saying any of this now? Dad's voice was a low, hoarse whisper, heavy with unending grief. You've destroyed this family, and you've destroyed me. A deathly silence descended upon the room, broken only by the heavy, ragged breathing and the occasional, stifled sob. Just then, the hospital room door creaked open, and Wang Ji's loathsome figure appeared in the doorway. A sinister and cunning smile played on his lips, a smile that seemed to crawl from the darkest depths of hell, sending shivers down one's spine. He sauntered into the room, showing no restraint whatsoever despite it being a hospital ward. His eyes gleamed with a wild, triumphant satisfaction. The moment my father saw Wang Ji, fury consumed him. His already pale face flushed crimson with anger, veins bulging on his forehead. He struggled to sit up, pointing a trembling finger at Wang Ji, his voice shaking yet roaring with rage. You bastard! How dare you show your face here? But Wang Ji paid my father's anger no mind. He just laughed, even more pleased with himself, his laughter grating harshly in the quiet room. Haha, why wouldn't I dare? You destroyed my father's love, and I'm just here to see how you've ended up. He spoke as he walked to the bedside, looking at us provocatively. The game's over. So boring. This time, you've all been utterly disgraced. How satisfying. Then, he began to lay out his insane plan for revenge, a twisted excitement contorting his features. You know, before my father died, he told me I had to make sure your family never knew a moment's peace. He hated you, and I hate you too. So, I set my plan in motion. First, I deliberately got close to you, Annie. He turned to my mother, a flicker of mockery in his eyes. Did you really think I had feelings for you? You were just a tool for my revenge. Look at you, so naive at your age, actually believing you had some charm that could make me genuinely care for you. I was just exploiting your foolish emotions, and you fell for it hook, line, and sinker like an idiot. Haha, it's utterly ridiculous. Hearing this, my mother's eyes widened in shock. Her lips trembled, words failing her. She leaned back, as if unable to bear the cruel truth. You, how could you? I was so good to you. I thought. Her voice was laced with anguish and disbelief. Wang Ji sneered, cutting her off. You thought? Everything you thought was wrong. You're just a pathetic old woman, blinded by your emotions. Huh. And then, I turned my attention to Baiwan. He looked at Baiwan again, a hint of malice in his smile. By now, Baiwan was incandescent with rage. Her eyes were bloodshot, glaring at Wang Ji with pure hatred. You despicable swine, she seethed through gritted teeth, her body trembling slightly with fury. Wang Ji, however, continued nonchalantly. I seduced you, made you fall in love with me. You actually developed real feelings for me, didn't you? But you were quite conflicted, always refusing to be with me officially. So what? I have my ways. Look at yourself, Baiwan. So easily manipulated. You thought it was true love? In my eyes, you're nothing but a foolish plaything. With a few simple tricks, you were eating out of my hand. I found a chance to get you drunk, then secretly took those photos. My goal was to ruin all of you, to make you taste real suffering. As he spoke, he pulled out his phone from his pocket and dangled it in front of us, as if flaunting his spoils of war. You're shameless. Baiwan lunged forward to snatch the phone, but Wang Ji easily dodged her. She broke down, sobbing hysterically. Why would you do this to me? You scumbag. Her cries, filled with despair and helplessness, echoed through the room, heart-wrenching to hear. The hospital room plunged into chaos and anguish, everyone shocked and wounded by Wang Ji's machinations. And Wang Ji stood there like a conqueror, reveling in the chaos he had wrought. Just then, my mom suddenly spoke to Wang Ji. That old bastard should have died long ago. It's perfect. We can get married and be together forever. All my family's fortune will be yours, as long as you love me. Wang Ji raised an eyebrow, the smugness in his eyes deepening. He watched my mom approach, not flinching in the slightest. Instead, he stood there even more arrogantly, as if parading his victory for all to see. My mom slowly walked over and took Wang Ji's hand. As she led him to my dad's bedside, her expression instantly became a maelstrom of emotions. Suddenly, she burst into tears, a torrent gushing forth as if a dam had broken. Incomprehensible words tumbled from her lips. Old way, I've failed you in this life. In the next, I'll come back as a workhorse to repay you. Just as everyone stood frozen in shock, my mom did something astounding. She violently shoved Wang Ji and lunged recklessly for the window. Wang Ji clearly hadn't anticipated this. He struggled in terror. The smug look on his face instantly wiped away, replaced by boundless fear and panic. "Are you insane? What are you doing?" he screamed. But my mom was already in a frenzy. Her strength seemed to have become immense, completely overpowering Wang Ji's resistance. The two of them wrestled by the window for what felt like an eternity, objects in the hospital room crashing to the floor, creating a terrible cacophony. Bai Wan and I watched in horror, wanted to rush forward and stop them, but it was too late. In that instant, my mom and Wang Ji plummeted from the building together. The hospital room plunged into a deathly silence, broken only by the sound of the wind howling outside and our own ragged gasps. We were all stunned by this sudden, horrific turn of events, as if time itself had stopped. My dad's eyes bulged, his gaze filled with shock and anguish. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. The day of my mother's funeral, my father passed away after resuscitation efforts failed. As their sole heir, I inherited everything. Bai Wan, dressed in black, stood before me, her expression deeply conflicted. She then told me her story with Wang Ji. At first, Wang Ji constantly looked for excuses to get close to Bai Wan at work. He'd bring her coffee when she was swamped, a seemingly thoughtful gesture, or feign eagerness to help brainstorm solutions when she hit a snag with work. Bai Wan was initially resistant to these advances. She found his attentiveness overbearing. Her heart belonged only to her husband, and she always responded to Wang Ji with polite distance. However, Wang Ji didn't give up. He began appearing in her life more frequently, showering her with attention and small gifts. Gradually, under Wang Ji's sustained charm offensive, Bai Wan's resolve began to waver. She started to think that perhaps he wasn't so bad after all. His concerns seemed to bring a different kind of warmth to her otherwise mundane life. As time went on, Bai Wan's resistance softened into acceptance, and she began going out for meals and movies with him. With each meeting, Bai Wan found herself unknowingly ensnared in the intricate web Wang Ji had spun, and she realized she'd fallen in love with him. Her heart was torn. On one hand, she felt an immense guilt towards her husband. On the other, she couldn't control her feelings for Wang Ji. Wang Ji sensed her inner turmoil, but pressed on with his scheme. One day, under the pretext of an important party, he invited Bai Wan. There, Wang Ji relentlessly plied her with drinks. Her mind a whirl of complex emotions, Bai Wan slowly let her guard down and drank until she was hazy. Wang Ji seized the opportunity to take her to a prearranged room. When Bai Wan woke up the next day in unfamiliar surroundings, a chilling premonition washed over her. Meanwhile, Wang Ji, holding the photos he'd secretly taken the night before, flashed a sinister smile. "Wan Wan," he said, "you're completely mine now. If you don't do as I say, these photos will destroy your reputation. Think it over carefully. Don't even dream of escaping me, because you're mine, now and forever, my sweet, obedient one." Bai Wan looked at Wang Ji, her eyes filled with despair and regret. She finally understood. She had fallen into an inescapable trap. Those once beautiful moments had become the prologue to a nightmare. Wang Ji knew she had a strong will. If he used force, she would undoubtedly call the police. So, he merely used the photos to threaten her. Bai Wan wanted to tell me the truth, but was terrified I would divorce her. Step by step, she became Wang Ji's prey, a tool for his revenge against us. Finally, Bai Wan produced the divorce papers. She was leaving with nothing. "Husband," she said, "I agree to the divorce. I don't want anything. I only beg for your forgiveness. It was I who threw you away. I'll never remarry in this lifetime. I'll make it up to you in the next." I looked at the wife I had once loved so deeply, my heart a tangle of pain and helplessness. In the end, I signed the papers. Bai Wan left, her figure retreating with a forlorn air. Her silhouette looked desolate. Perhaps she was consumed by regret, for herself, for the shameful past. But there's no cure for regret in this world. Whether or not she had physically betrayed me, her heart had strayed. She had fallen for Wang Ji. That was a fact. No man could accept that. Neither could I. The end.